Hello everyone, welcome to this video about some approaches to playing over a long static dominant chord. And in this case I'm talking about G7, but of course you can transpose everything I'm doing or explaining to other keys. So this is a question I often get in workshops, what to do on those long 7 chords. When you talk about jazz or gypsy jazz, you have songs like Sweet Georgia Brown where there is 3 4-bar dominant chords in a row, or Limehouse Blues, it's C7 for 4 bars, A7 for 4 bars, and there's even songs with dominant chords for 8 bars. But for this video I'm gonna do a static chord for a long time because it changes the approach somewhat, and it's interesting because normally in jazz and gypsy jazz we don't have songs with only 1 chord for a long time. The closest I can think of is a Django song called Appel Indirect, or Appel Direct, has two titles, and that has a long C6 chord or C7. You can play both chords. But I can't think of any other song. But if you go to more modal music or funk, sometimes there's only 1 chord. It's only like G7, like a... And then you have to play a long solo, and then the approach to soloing over that is not exactly the same, but we can use some of the same ideas. So I want to show you 3 approaches to, or maybe even 4 approaches to soloing over this kind of progression with only 1 chord. So the first obvious approach, of course, is to play mixolydian, which is a mode. And that's something I rarely do, but I do know, of course, it's a possibility. So if you are a modes player, you probably already know about this. And then basically you play the notes of the C major scale on top of a G7 to get that F in there. Now, and if I would ever play mixolydian, which I almost never do, then I would probably go to one of my 2 favorite positions for the major scale. And if you want to know more about that, I made a video about it. It's linked under this video. But in short, it's either for me this position, which if I'm thinking about the C major scale starts on the major 7, or if I think about G7 mixolydian starts on the 3rd. It's good for that kind of fast thing. I talk about this position a lot in that video, and the other one would be here. So those would be my 2 positions for playing mixolydian. Now you ask me, so why don't you just develop lots of lines within mixolydian, which is what a lot of modal players would do? Well, that's a possibility, but because I come from gypsy jazz or jazz, I prefer to think about chord changes. And then you say, well, chord changes, it's only 1 chord. Yes, but I think other changes in top of the G7, chords that resolve into G7 are very similar, as to create lines that have different kind of colors every time I think of another chord change. So the first approach I want to talk about is to play D minor. D minor on top of G7. Now D minor is very close to G7. It's almost the same thing. In fact, D minor 6 is basically G7 or G7-9. But D minor 7 also works. So if I would think D minor, and even if a D minor triad is also in the mixolydian mode, if I think of D minor, I play other lines than if I would think of playing D minor within the mixolydian mode. Because if I play D minor, I would also play stuff like, which is a D minor triad with approach notes. For instance, or I would play something like, or I would play maybe, and I would play D minor 6 arpeggios. And I made a whole video about minor 6 arpeggios. I will link it too. So I would play all that kind of stuff. But then I would even go one step further and maybe play even A7 to D minor. And so you say A7, that will sound horrible on G7. Yes, it might if I would just be playing A7, but I wouldn't be playing A7. I would play A7 resolving to D minor, right? And because D minor is very similar to G7, that works as long as I resolve it to D minor. So I want to let you hear that sound. So I'm going to play the backing track and play a little bit of D minor. And also when I play D minor, I play a lot of this kind of arpeggio. You know what, maybe I should give you 2 lines. I'm just going to give you 2 D minor lines with tap, which I will make after the video. And then when I start improvising, I will use those lines so you can actually hear it. So maybe the first line we should talk about is this F major 7 arpeggio, which is something I like to play on D minor. So then the line would go, let me see. Yeah, let's do that. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the nice thing is, it's just an F major 7 arpeggio up and down with some triplets. But you can play only that thing, for instance, starting on the high string, going down, or repeat the first. Play around with that. So let's do another line. Let's play that line that I just played. Let's do that. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now I'm gonna improvise a little bit with D minor. I'm gonna play these 2 lines somewhere in the solo, play other lines too, of course, and I'm gonna play some A7 to D minor as well. And if I play A7, I have the option of playing C sharp diminished, or A7 altered. So there I just played G minor 6, which is of course super weird if you think about playing it on G7, but I'm now thinking about playing it on A7, and then G minor 6 is a substitute to resolve back to D minor. So you see, in the end, I'm not relating it to G7, I'm relating it to A7, and then playing G minor 6. So I'm not thinking, okay, I'm gonna play G minor 6 from G7. No, that would be kind of strange to do it. I'm thinking about D minor and then sounds that go into D minor, like G minor 6. Okay, it's also a question of confidence while doing it and keep the line going until you resolve it. So sometimes maybe you play something that is not that tasteful and then you gotta remember it and don't do it again. So I'm gonna try playing D minor, A7 in it, C sharp diminished, some G minor 6. Let's see if it works. Some things work better than other things, but you can tell that it does work. You start to hear D minor as a kind of 1, and D minor sounds great on G7. So all lines that end up in D minor should also work. Okay, the second approach would be to play G diminished, which might also be odd to think about if the chord is G7 to play this flat 9, right? Sorry, G diminished, I mean B diminished, right? So I'm thinking diminished from the third, which is kind of odd if you think about it, because then there's this flat 9, A flat. This A flat. But it works because 3 of the 4 notes are nice on a static G7 chord, and also diminished has a kind of inherent consistency to it, which makes it sound very strong. And in gypsy jazz, this diminished sound on a dominant chord, even if it doesn't resolve to a tonic, just works. And for gypsy jazz players, it's a great thing to use because you play so many diminished arpeggios that you get a great facility in it. So let me just play some diminished lines on top of G7, and I'm not only gonna play diminished lines, I also play some D minor and maybe some D minor 6, but you'll hear the diminished in between. I'm not gonna give you diminished licks because I made many videos with diminished arpeggios. I will link one under this, and there you have fingerings for the diminished arpeggios, which you can use if you play on a static G7 chord, for example. So let's try it. Let's talk about the third approach. So we had D minor, we had diminished arpeggios, and the third approach would be to play the bebop scale, right? And so you could actually be very interesting with only the bebop scale if you develop a lot of bebop language. Now, I haven't developed a lot of language inside the bebop scale because I like to use different colors on top of G7, and I'm more adept, of course, at playing diminished things. But I do know some of the bebop stuff, especially in 2 positions. The first one for me would be to play around the third of G. So there's a diminished a bebop scale with easy fingerings like this. Very convenient. 4-2-1, 4-2-1, 4-3-1, 4-3-1, and then chromatic 4-2-1. And I have one here, starting on the roots. But let me just give you 2 lines. Let me just give you 2 bebop scale lines. Maybe one I like to play here is this one. Yeah, let's do that one. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, four. By the way, the bebop scale, if you don't know, it's just a major scale with the flat 7 in it. So you get G, F sharp, F, and then just the normal major scale. Okay, another one. Maybe one that starts here. Yeah, let's do that one. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, four. So I usually play this scale down, descending. So ascending, I would maybe play diminished or D minor. You know, the. Okay, let me play a little bit with the backing track and just play some bebop scale down and then up other things. And the fourth approach would be to play bluesy lines, things that are associated with George Benson or Grant Green, Joe Pass, Uwe Canius. And I already made a video with many of those blues conventions. It's called Play Like a Pro on the One Chord, so it's linked on the video. Go there for a bunch of those blues licks. But some of the principles are that you play a lot of 4 to the 3. So in G would be C to B. So this is 4, 3, or here from the flat 3 to the 3. You play the 9 with a trill or a slide. A lot of flat 3, of course. Well, it's difficult actually to give the principles because the blues licks are actually very varied. A lot of them come from or are rooted in the minor pentatonic scale, but I never think about that. I think more about the phrases themselves and then try to vary the phrases that I already know. So let me just play some blues for you so you can hear what it sounds like. Stuff like that. So check out that video. And in the end, so the end goal is to mix all of this. To mix blues with D minor, with the bebop scale, maybe even mixolydian. So just gonna do that a little bit. Just mix all of that and see if you can hear what it is that I'm doing. And Then I'm really trying to change colors when I think I've played enough of one color. Or maybe I just want to play a bunch of colors in a short time. It's also possible. Okay, let's do that. Yeah, of course I'm searching also now for sounds, and normally I would never have a situation where I would have such a long G7 chord. But it is fun to try and be creative and see how far you can go. Because I was playing, at one point I was playing D minor blues. I was playing stuff like, which is pretty weird to think of, but it works, because I'm hearing D minor, and by playing that, you're hearing D minor too, and then it does sound. In fact, I could even probably play like E7, A7 to D minor. Let's try that. Yeah, I was trying stuff. At one point everything becomes possible. So I was playing D7, E flat minor to G7. I was playing some other stuff too. I don't even remember what I was playing, but if you can keep the line going, a lot is possible. But start with trying D minor, G diminished, B diminished. I was playing, by the way, the diminished scale 1 point, the G diminished scale. Also possible, but to keep on track, start with D minor, B diminished, and the G bebop scale, and see how far you can get. Okay, I hope this will open up the possibilities for you. Until the next video, bye.